Meditation, in Joe Dispenza's understanding, is not a relaxation technique and not a way to temporarily escape problems. It is a process of changing the state of consciousness, a state in which a person stops reproducing habitual patterns of thinking, stops reacting through the biochemistry of the past, and begins to create a new inner state, a new personality, and, as a result, a new reality. Most people live guided by the automatic reactions of the body. The body is the mind of the past. It remembers how we reacted yesterday, the day before, in childhood, and it repeats those reactions again and again. That is why Dispenza-style meditation is a way to step beyond the old personality, to temporarily stop being who we believe ourselves to be, and to enter a state of pure awareness where change becomes possible. For meditation to truly happen, a special preparation is required. You cannot simply close your eyes after a hectic day and expect a deep inner experience. A mind excited by beta brainwaves is too active to shift into the deeper levels of consciousness where real transformation occurs. This is why before beginning the practice, it is essential to calm the mind, slow down the inner dialogue, and release the need to control, analyze, or expect anything. Any expectation is a memory of the past. It keeps us in the known and prevents us from entering the space of new possibilities. The attitude must be soft and open. Simply observe, be, allow. The body plays a crucial role. It is used to commanding the mind, sending signals like scratch, move, open your eyes, check your phone. This is the body's attempt to keep you within the boundaries of the old personality. Stillness is a way to tell the body, you no longer control me, I control you. So before beginning the practice, sit comfortably, straighten your spine, close your eyes, and scan your body with your attention, softening the tension. Relaxation is not effort, it is the absence of effort. Breathe slowly, noticing how the body becomes lighter, quieter, less noticeable. The less the body is felt, the easier it is to enter the pure space of consciousness. When the body becomes calm, the attention gradually shifts from the inner me to the space around. This is a key idea in Dispenza's work. Become nobody, be nowhere, in no time, without a body, without a story. This is not philosophy. It is a state in which the brain stops analyzing and begins functioning in a synchronized, creative mode. Close your eyes and move your attention to the space behind you, above you, around you. Feel that you are not the body, you are the awareness perceiving the space. This simple exercise pulls attention out of physical identity and opens access to non-local perception, where the brain activates new neural networks. Breathing is a crucial tool. It lifts the energy stored in the lower centers, where emotions of the past reside, and moves it toward the brain, where heightened awareness is needed. A slow inhale, as if drawing air upward along the spine, a gentle tightening of the abdominal muscles, lifting attention to the crown, a brief pause, a smooth exhale. All of this works as a lever that switches the brain from survival mode to creation mode. Over time, this breathing reduces the activity of stress centers and increases the activity of areas responsible for clarity, focus, and self-regulation. The body stops dictating emotional programs, and the mind gains freedom. The next key aspect is attention. Attention is the main currency of consciousness. What attention is directed toward becomes experience. What attention holds for a long time becomes personality. People who repeat mental scenarios of the past strengthen the neural networks that support those scenarios. This is why in meditation it is essential to become a witness to thoughts rather than a participant. Thoughts come, you see them. Thoughts go, you allow them to leave. There is nothing to do, interpret, or analyze. This alone breaks the connection between your personality and the thoughts that used to control you. When thoughts become quieter, the body calmer, and attention more expanded, a transition into a state of non-local consciousness occurs. This is the moment when you stop trying to control the process. Any attempt to achieve a result is the past trying to control the present again. When you simply allow yourself to be, when you release the analytical mind and shift into the space of observation, the state Dispenza calls the field begins to open. There are no images, no thoughts, no familiar I identity. There is only awareness, silence, expansion. This state is difficult to describe in words, but it becomes recognizable with practice. In this state, familiar emotional signals disappear. The body stops reminding you of itself. The inner dialogue becomes thinner until it dissolves. There is a sense of being in a space not limited by physical sensations. This is the void, the space where old programs no longer exist. It is precisely here that creation becomes possible. When you are in the void, you are no longer tied to biography, no longer attached to emotions of the past, no longer held by the old self-image.
You become consciousness open to new possibilities. This state is the foundation for all deeper Dispenza practices. Without mastering this transition, the next techniques, creating a new personality, working with intention, heart-centered practices, working with energy centers, will be far less effective. The inner void is the starting point. It is the space where you stop being the effect of the past and become the cause of the future. When the basic state of inner silence becomes familiar, the next stage begins, the gradual formation of a new inner experience capable of changing not only psychological states, but also the nervous system, emotions, energy levels, and perception of reality. Dispenza emphasizes that creating a new personality is not a metaphor, it is a real restructuring of neural connections. For the personality to change, the experience must change. And for the experience to change, meditation must teach the body to feel new states, states it has never known. This is why the second stage of practice includes forming the inner feeling of the future, learning to activate emotions not tied to the past, and creating a state that becomes the foundation of new behavior. To begin the transition from the void to creation, it is important to hold attention not on thoughts or images, but on the feeling of presence. When the mind stops being analytical and the body stops trying to return familiar reactions, a space appears where a new state can be planted. A person begins to feel change not as visualization, not as fantasy, but as a real inner experience. And this is the key point. In Dispenza's model, the brain does not distinguish real experience from internally lived experience if the emotion is genuine. Therefore, if a person begins to feel internally a sense of worthiness, gratitude, love for life, inspiration, strength, the brain rewires its networks as if all of this has already happened. This is why it is so important to learn to experience the emotions of the future in the present. This is the shift from focusing on what is to the state of what can be. To activate a new state, full presence is required. It is done like this. After entering the void, when the body is no longer felt as a dense structure, attention begins to return inward, but not to thoughts. It returns to the heart, the solar plexus, the space inside the chest. Here, it is important to feel not the physical organ, but the energetic sensation of the center. On the inhale, attention gently rises upward. On the exhale, it expands into the space around. You do not force emotions, you allow them to appear. Most often, the first emotion to arise is gentle gratitude, a universal foundational emotion that softly opens the system. Then others follow: calm confidence, warmth, the sense that there is enough energy inside to change your life. When activating the emotional center, the body may try to interfere. It will search for familiar feelings like mild anxiety or doubt. At this moment, it is important not to fight or suppress these states, but to gently return to the space. Dispenza emphasizes, attention is the key. Where attention goes, energy flows. If attention is held on the space inside the chest and the emotional quality that begins to unfold there, the body gradually recalibrates. You are literally teaching the body a new emotion without relying on external events. This is the moment of liberation. You no longer depend on the world to feel differently. When the emotion becomes stable, it must be held not for a few seconds, but long enough for the brain to begin forming a new chemical pattern. At this moment, the brain produces neurotransmitters associated with inspiration, love, clarity, the very substances that form the personality of the future. The longer a person holds new emotions, the faster neural restructuring occurs. Neurons that haven't been used in a long time begin to activate. Those that supported old programs weaken. The personality stops being tied to old emotions, and the body begins to feel the new state as natural. The next stage is working with the image of the new self. Dispenza emphasizes, an image is not a visual picture, but a combination of sensations, states, and intentions. You don't imagine being a different person, you feel who you are becoming. Calm, confident, inspired, creative, open, filled with dignity. All these states must be felt in the body. You don't think about who you want to be, you become that person in the moment of meditation. This is not fantasy, it is a new inner experience. And this experience teaches the body a new personality. To make the state stable, it must be connected with the feeling of the future. Dispenza explains the future reality exists as a possibility in the field, and access to it appears when the inner emotional experience matches the frequency of the reality a person wants to create.
This is not a metaphor, but a principle. Everything in the body is a wave, a frequency, a signal. When the inner state changes, a person stops matching the past and begins to match possibilities. This is how the feeling arises that the future becomes real during meditation. A person begins to live from the heart, not from memory. It is important to learn to hold the state of the new self without tension. If the desire appears to speed up the process or achieve a result, this is a return to the old personality. You must remain in a state of trust, as if you have already become the person you want to be. This is a state of calm certainty, where there is no doubt because the emotions of the future are already felt. The body begins to believe in this state. This is where Dispenza's alchemy happens. A body taught a new emotion stops living in the past and begins living in the future. When the inner state stabilizes, you can move to a more subtle part of the practice, directing attention into the energy centers. Dispenza speaks of 7 main centers, each connected not only to physical functions, but also to emotional and energetic programs. Working with them is a way to redistribute energy, release blocked areas, and make the system more balanced. But Dispenza's approach is not esoteric. He views these centers as combinations of nerve plexuses, endocrine glands, and neurochemical complexes. Moving attention through these centers is a way to activate their function and restore the flow of energy. You begin with the lower centers, the pelvis, abdomen, solar plexus. This is where emotions of the past are most often stored: fear, survival, control, anxiety. If you gently hold attention in these areas without trying to change anything, they gradually relax. On the exhale, you can imagine tension dissolving. On the inhale, energy rising upward. Then, attention moves to the heart, the key center in Dispenza's system. The heart is not only an organ, but also the source of an electromagnetic field far stronger than the brain's. It is through heart activation that the deepest changes occur. You may feel warmth, expansion, or a light vibration in the center of the chest. This should not be forced. The more attention you bring to this area, the more the emotional center of the heart activates. Here, it is important to remain in states of love, gratitude, compassion, or dignity. These states open the heart and make it the leading center. And it is this state that allows new emotional programs to form. After the heart, attention may rise higher to the throat, the intuitive center, the crown. Here, creative perception, clarity, and synchronized brain states activate. But you do not need to force any sensations, simply observe. All the work is done through attention and presence. When all levels stabilize, a sense of flow appears. The body becomes light, the mind quiet, the heart open. You begin to live in a state where the inner does not depend on the outer. This is the main goal of the practice, to become the cause of your state, not the effect of circumstances. A person begins to feel that the new personality does not appear through effort, it unfolds as a natural continuation of the inner state. When a person begins to live the inner state they consciously create in meditation, a turning point occurs. They stop being the effect of past experience and become the cause of the future. Transformation begins when the emotions of the future stop feeling artificially induced and become the natural state of the body. This happens not through effort, but through the body gradually adapting to new sensations. The body learns to respond to the inner state rather than external circumstances. This is the foundation of Dispenza's work, to change biology so that a person no longer needs the old emotions that once defined their personality. Now, the main task is not just to experience the new state in meditation, but to carry it into daily life. Dispenza constantly emphasizes, the real work happens between meditations. Daily life inevitably triggers old feelings, irritation, anxiety, doubt. But the moment a person notices the return of an old emotion, a space for choice appears. They can remember their new state, pause, and return to breathing or to the feeling of space around them. This choice seems small, but it is exactly what reinforces the new neural architecture. Each time a person chooses the new state instead of the habitual reaction, the new personality strengthens. Gradually, the new emotions begin to feel natural to the body. Gratitude, calm, dignity, lightness become the default background. This means the body has stopped producing the old chemistry of stress and has begun living in a different rhythm. The brain no longer seeks external triggers to feel the old way.
This transition is the foundation of inner freedom. A person stops depending on circumstances to feel good. They create their state from within. At this stage, readiness for working with intention appears. In Dispenza's model, intention is not desire and not fantasy. It is a mental vector connected with the emotion of the future. Thought sets the direction. Emotion turns that direction into a magnet. A person does not create detailed images of the future. They create the state that corresponds to that future. For example, if the goal is health, the state must be filled with lightness, strength, clarity, not medical details. If the goal is harmonious relationships, the state must be filled with love, respect, openness. State is more important than images. Emotion is what makes intention real. When the inner state is found, a person does not try to hold it by force. They allow themselves to experience it as an already accomplished reality. At this moment, the body begins to respond to the emotion as if it were caused by an external event, even though no event occurred. The shift happens from within. The brain begins forming new neural networks. Hormones are produced differently. The heart works in a more coherent rhythm. A sense of inner expansion or quiet certainty appears. This is the signal that the body is accepting the new frequency. In deep meditative states, a person may feel that desire disappears, leaving only a sense of rightness. The future no longer feels distant. It is present as a possibility here. This state resembles the dissolution of personal boundaries. There is no need to know how the intention will manifest. There is trust in the process. The brain in these moments works synchronously, creating conditions for deep restructuring. Dispenza explains that such states are the natural result of a calm body, a quiet mind, and an open heart. When meditation ends, it is important not to return abruptly to daily life. The body must gently integrate the new sensations. Feel the breath, the space. Slowly return attention to the physical body and open your eyes only when the inner state is stable. This transition helps carry the effect of the practice into reality and prevents the fragile new state from being destroyed by old habits. Then begins the main stage, living as the new personality. The new personality thinks differently, feels differently, reacts differently. A person who is truly changed no longer perceives external situations the way they used to. They may encounter the same people, circumstances, and challenges, but the reaction will be different. The inner state becomes the source of action, not a reflection of the outer world. This is the key. A person becomes an active creator, not a passive observer. Over time, the first synchronicities appear. Synchronicities are coincidences, events, and encounters that seem too precise to be random. They are the natural confirmation that the frequency of the new personality matches the possibilities of the future. This is not magic or mysticism. It is the reflection of the inner state in the outer world. When a person lives the emotion of the future, reality begins to respond. But it is important to remember, even with stable practice, old emotions may return. The body is used to a certain chemical baseline, and it takes time for the organism to fully transition into the new state. When an old emotion arises, it is important to notice it, name it, and not allow it to control behavior. This is not struggle, it is awareness. With each such episode, the new state strengthens and the old programs weaken. After some time, a person notices that new emotions arise on their own. Gratitude appears without reason. Joy does not require an external trigger. Love feels like a natural flow. This is the sign that transformation has occurred. The body has become the carrier of the new personality. A person lives not from memories of the past, but from an inner connection with the future. This future stops being a dream, it becomes part of the present experience. When a person lives in this state, intentions manifest more easily. Events unfold without strain. Decisions come with clarity. The world becomes more responsive. Life stops being a struggle and becomes a gradual unfolding. This is what it looks like when the inner world shapes the outer circumstances. In the end, meditation according to Dispenza's principles leads to one realization. The most important reality is the inner state. The body, thoughts, and emotions can be rewired. Personality is not a fixed structure, but a dynamic process. And when a person consciously creates their state from within, they stop being a prisoner of the past and become the creator of the future. This is the ultimate goal, to live in the energy that opens possibilities, not in the patterns that repeat old limitations.